the battle is the Lord's. And I want to talk about that. Neville Goddard had a discussion, and the discussion was, he says, be not afraid or dismayed by reason, and he's quoting scripture here. He says, but be not afraid or dismayed by the reason of the great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but God's. And then he goes on to say, listen, you do not fight against your problems. Your problems will only live as long as you are conscious of it. Take your attention away from your problem and the multitude of reasons why you cannot achieve your ideal. Concentrate or focus your attention entirely upon the thing desired, and that's Neville Goddard. And like I said, I'm hoping that you at least see this portion of my screen, but if not, worst case scenario, if you guys are not seeing my full screen and the only thing you're hearing is my audio, I'm doing a record screen. What I'll do is take this record screen later and basically upload it to YouTube, but I'm hoping that you're on the journey with me. And like I said, I'll work through this with YouTube and Zoom, but hopefully you're getting this. So he said, listen, even now the battle's not mine. So I gotta I gotta take heed to what Neville was saying. You know, the battle is not ours. Now, what does that mean? I like to say that the Lord is the law of right decree. What is it that you're decreeing in your life? This is all important. He says, be not afraid. Throughout scripture, I know that it's at least 365 times the phrase in one form or another says, fear not, be not afraid, or be dismayed. Why? Because the writers of scripture understood that if you're afraid, then your fear at that moment is the prayer. What do I mean? Whatever you're giving your attention to at any given moment is what it is that you're praying for. Now, many of us think that the prayer only takes place when we're verbalizing words to a deity or, we're praying about a problem. As Mr. Linda will often say, we're praying ceaselessly or morning, noon, and night. What does that mean? Whatever you're thinking with feelings, that's the prayer. So when Neville says, using scripture, don't be afraid or dismayed by reason of the great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but God's. If fear is our focus, then whatever it is that we're fearing at the moment, that's what we're going to see in our world. And the problem is because we have something called a reticular activating system, simply meaning that we can't think multiple things at the same time at the conscious level. Now, subconscious mind can do thousands, tens of thousands, millions of things at the same time. But at a conscious level, we can only think one thought at a time. So if we're thinking on fear, then we're not operating from faith and we're not bringing about that thing that we desire. He says, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Now, I know it's Sunday, but I want to take you away from the concept of that deity outside of yourself. I like to say that God is the good that one desires. What is it that you want to manifest? What is it that you want to show up in your life? That's the God. That's your focus. In the Ten Commandments, it says, thou shalt not have any other God besides me. And yet we have a plethora of different deities that we call God outside of us. And, we pray to these idols outside of us. And we say, well, I prayed to God and my prayers weren't answered. God says that he's given us dominion. How is that dominion given to us? It's by way of our thoughts, our words, our actions, our feelings, our states, our attitudes, our dispositions. Why is this? It's because we're energy systems, spiritual beings having a human experience. So everything that we do, even science has proven this at a non-quantum and quantum level. It shows that when the body is being perceived through certain equipment, they see nothing but vibration, energy. So since we're energy beings having a human experience, And it says that we've been created in the image and the likeness of God. What is God? Jesus says that God is spirit, and those who worship God must worship God in spirit and in truth. So when we're talking about God, again, I like to say that God is that good that one desires. When you're vibrating at a fear level, then the only thing that you can resonate is more fear energy and things associated with that fear. So it says, don't be afraid or dismayed. Don't be troubled by what it is. And they use a key term. He says, by reason, by reason. Most of us are looking at our problem from the five senses or the mass mind reasoning. Jesus says, don't judge according to appearance or reason. You say, well, Coach, well, then how am I to judge? You're judging according to what it is that you want to manifest. Now, how does that work? You begin visualizing, calling those things that are not as though they were. Now, early on, that's not easy. But the truth of the matter is, we do this day in and day out. We just don't realize that we're doing it. We say that I'm going to the store, that I'm going downstairs to get a glass of water, that I'm going to the bathroom. Everything that we're saying that we're going to do, that we're going to do, we have to think it first. Once we think it, then we go about to carry out that act. This is how you manifest every day. Now, when we get into these communities, when we start hearing people talking about manifestation, then we start complicating it. But you're doing this thing because the only way that you can materialize things at the physical realm level is everything has to start first and foremost in the mind. We think a thought, whether consciously or consciously, then that thought is outpictured into what we call reality. Then we go about to make those things so. Like I said, because we do it on a daily basis, moment by moment, hundreds, thousands, millions of times throughout the day, we take it for granted. So then we think, well, when this big thing comes, whether it be a relationship, whether it be more money, whether it be better health, we say then it's going to take special tools to manifest that in my life. Not so. Neville says, listen, according to scripture, be not afraid or dismayed by reason. So now you start utilizing faith. I like to say that faith is a favorable anticipation in thoughts held. What is it that you want to be, do, or have? You start holding that thought in consciousness. What happens is the seed starts to be, as it were, germinated into your subconscious mind. Subconscious mind's job at that point is to go about, to bring it about. So when we start talking about tools like a state akin to sleep, when we start talking about affirmations, visualizations, emotionalization, sensing, when we start utilizing those tools, all those tools are tools that we use to direct our subconscious mind. A lot of times we think that in just thinking it at a conscious level, that will bring it about. But at a subconscious level, we're vibrating lack, for example, and yet we're seeking abundance. We're vibrating, I'm not loving at a subconscious level, and yet we're seeking love. We're vibrating, I'm not healthy at a subconscious level, and yet we're saying, I'm healthy and I'm vigorous, and it's not showing up in our lives. You can't do it by reason. You have to begin seeing it, as Neville would often say, go to the end. You have to become the actor in your play. And that play is seeing, doing, having what it is that you want to see, do, and have and manifest in your life. You'll notice a lot of the short videos that I'm doing, I'm incorporating myself in those videos because I want to see myself living from that desired end. So anytime you're seeing something that you want to manifest in your life, don't do it by reason. Because then we start telling ourselves by way of ego all of the reasons why it can't be done. When Neville was speaking, and his first group had 6 people in it, he saw himself speaking before thousands. When Dr. Joseph Murphy was speaking to an empty church, he saw himself speaking before thousands. Many actors, actresses, Olympians, doctors, lawyers, professional people, some of the wealthiest people in the world that we know today, started off seeing themselves being so even before it showed up by reason of what we call reality. I tell the story about Jeff Bezos. Jeff said, listen, when he was a corporate exec, he said, I told his boss, I want to start a online bookstore and I want to create a multi-million dollar, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. I want to create a multi-billion dollar online industry. His boss at the time thought he was delusional. He's like, Jeff, you got a great job here. You're doing well. You're promoting well. Stick to what you know. But Jeff had already saw the vision and he had begun walking out the vision. Now, this took 15, 20, 25, almost 30 years before Jeff, as it were, made Amazon the Amazon that it is today. Why do I say that? Creators, many of you are trying to create something, manifest something, assume something. And because it hasn't shown up in a couple of weeks, a couple of days, or, yesterday, we say this stuff isn't working. If it's something that you truly believe, that you truly assume that it's yours, you walk it out until you bring it about. And I want to tell you a story about an artist. This artist was doing at the time the best work that he knew how to do, but nobody would buy his artwork. He would do portraits and he had this library of beautiful art, but the people of his time could not see the greatness in the art. The artist, in a passion of love, cut his ear off. Now, many of you probably know that I'm talking about Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh, in his own mind, died a failure. Now, today we celebrate Vincent. Now, I know what many of you are saying, Coach, I want to see mine while I'm still here. Then start acting, living as if it is your current reality. See, Vincent didn't have the tools that you have concerning mine, but there were many artists of his day who did, and they benefited, and they sold their art. Some of these people that were famous in Vincent's time have been forgotten. Many are still remembered, but some have been forgotten. And yet, we still celebrate the works of Vincent van Gogh. Why do I tell you this? When you start seeing in your mind's eye, just because it doesn't show up immediately, doesn't mean that it's not taking place. It means that it's being germinated. Jesus talks about, seeds being sown and some fall on stony ground and so forth. And then he says, but then there's a time when some of those seeds, thoughts, let's call the seeds what they are so we can get the clear picture. When some of those seeds or thoughts give a harvest, and he said, some of them give a harvest, your thoughts, of tenfold, 20, 30, 40, 100-fold, and some even 1,000-fold. But understand this, depending upon the seeds that you're sowing, creators, good, bad, or indifferent, Jesus said that we will give an account for every idle word in the day of judgment. Depending upon the seeds, the thoughts that you're sowing, they all reproduce. The question is, how much? And like I said, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me go back to the day of judgment. Jesus says that in the day of judgment, you will give an account for even every idle word. So not just the words that you're intentionally, and let me also add to this. I say words, but I'm also speaking of thoughts. Just because the words or the thoughts have not been verbalized doesn't make them less words. So we have to be mindful of what it is that we're giving our attention to. And Neville said this: you don't fight against your problems. Your problems will only live as long as you are conscious of them. You say, well, Coach, how do I not be conscious of my problems? You think about the solutions. When I was working with corporate America, often I was working a particular network that was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more. And when problems would arise, they would call me. And often my peer would inquire, how are we going to fix this? I say, I have no clue. But I knew that there was a solution. And time after time after time after time, we resolved issues. There was never an issue that stuck around that didn't get resolved. Why? Because I knew, even though I didn't, if it's a problem, if it's truly a problem, which we call a so-called problem, there's always a solution to a problem. Now, if it's a fact of life, the sun rising, for example, there's nothing I can do there. I could put an umbrella up, I can go under shelter, but the sun rising every day, that's not a problem. That's a fact of life. But problems have solutions. And I believe that to every problem, there was a solution. I just needed to discover what it was. So my focus wasn't on the problem, but the resolution. And this is what Neville was saying. Don't give your attention to the problem. Look towards the solution. How can I fix this? Now, when you say, how can I fix it? What you're doing is giving that over to God, the good that one desires. You know, W. Clement Stone, he was a insurance mogul in the late 1900s, early late 1900s. He would say that everything was conspiring towards his good. And that comes from Romans 8. I know that all things are working together for my good. So he took that and personalized it. And so no matter what problem came up, he said, what good is coming out of this particular situation? And every time he was able to find a greater good, no matter what the problem was. And that's why he was, in his time, a multi-billionaire. Now, his finances in today's dollars would have been, they said he was worth about, in that time, about $700, $800 million. But like I said, in today's currency, with inflation and everything else, he would have been worth several billion. How did he get there? He changed his paradigm. He changed his perspective. You have to, as Neville stated, you have to take your attention away from the problem and you start thinking towards solutions. If I want more clients, then I have to find solutions to improve what it is that I'm providing clients. Clients don't chase me down because I want more clients. They chase me down because I provide solutions to whatever their problem is. You find the pain point, you find the problem, you create a solution you'll never want for clients. You look at whatever it is that you're seemingly going through and think about your solution. Once you start thinking upon possible solutions, what's going to happen is doors of opportunity will begin to present themselves to you. But as long as you're focused on the problem, you'll never see the proverbial ram in the bush. Abraham was called to sacrifice his son Isaac. And when he was taking Isaac to sacrifice him, he said, Isaac asked his father, he said, Father, where's the sacrifice? And Abraham said, God will provide. Isaac didn't realize he was the sacrifice. When Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac, the Spirit of the Lord spoke to Abraham and said, do your son no harm. And then Abraham noticed a ram in the bush. Now, possibly, the ram could have been in the bush the whole time. But because Abraham was initially focused on the problem, because listen, that was a problem for Abraham. Matter of fact, so much so, I don't even think that he told Sarah that he was going to sacrifice the son, because he would have had all hell to pay in that home. That was her only son. It was a son of promise. And now you're going to sacrifice him. He struggled with that the whole night, trying to figure out what God was going to do. Was God going to raise him from the dead? What was God going to do? My whole point is Abraham couldn't see the ram in the bush because he was focused on the problem. Many of you can't see your ram in the bush, the solution, because you're focused on the problem. But when you start figuring out ways, solutions to resolve what it is that you're going through, all of a sudden you're going to see multiple rams in the bush. So Neville said this: take your attention away from the problem, look towards your solution. This is me adding this, and the multitude of reasons. Isn't this so true? Not only do we look at the problem, we tell ourselves 10,000 reasons why these things can't happen. Neville says, take your attention, your focus, your gaze away from your problem and the multitude of reasons why you can't achieve your ideal. What is that thing that you want to do, be, or have? When we were first married, my wife and I, we were at a conference and they were talking about going to Hawaii. I made a declaration at the time: we're going to Hawaii. We're going to be at that conference. Didn't have the means, the wherewithal, didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't focus on that. The only thing I focused on was we're going to Hawaii. As Neville was told, you're in Barbados. Once we started moving towards that direction of going to Hawaii, then the funds, the resources, everything that we needed to take that trip showed up. Creators, what is it that you're trying to do, be, or have? And what are the multitude of reasons that you've told yourself that's keeping you stuck where you are? Understand this: the battle, the how, let me say it this way so it's clear to you. The how is not your business. There's a little YouTube short out that Mr. Lindell did, and it's called Mind Your Business. The how is not your business. Your business is to see your desired end as though it's already a reality. Otherwise, you're going to be dismayed by the reasons of the great multitude of all the reasons that you can't. I'm not saying that it's easy to see from the eyes of faith early on. And again, I like to say that faith is a favorable anticipation in thoughts held. You start seeing favorably. You start using the law of right decree. You start seeking the good that one desires. When you start setting your gaze upon, and listen, let me interject this. You may need a tool such as a vision board. You know, one of the things that I do is get an old photo magazine that has the adhesive paper that you can put a photo in, and I'll put pictures in that photo magazine as reminders that I can scroll through. I'll put pictures on my phone. I'll create videos. I'll create shorts with my image in it, seeing me doing, being, having, transforming the lives of millions. Understand what I'm saying? I keep giving my mind reasons to carry out these functions. I don't focus on the multitude of reasons that I can't, because if I did that, I would never take action. But as you begin moving in the direction of what it is that you want to be, do, or have, make sure that you're also pouring into yourself by way of positive messaging, YouTube videos, TikTok, Instagram, whatever works for you, books, audio programs, people, very important. Be mindful of the people that you're allowing to speak into your lives. Because see, either they're going to elevate you or they're going to take you down. You know who those people that you can share your dreams with. Jesus would often tell people when he performed a miracle, on your way to the high priest, tell no man or woman about your manifestation. Why? When you're on your way to your high priest, your place of promise, if you begin telling people what it is that you're doing, being, and having, even before it has manifested in your life, they'll say, "Who are you?" And some of them even say it subtly. You know that's not being realistic. Maybe you need to go in and find you a job. Whatever it is in their way of trying to encourage you. So since you already know that they cannot, because they can't see it for themselves, they cannot see or facilitate your dream in their mind's eye. You can't share that with them. And you've discovered that because you've shared things in the past, and the only thing they've done well meaningly is discourage your dreams. Share your dreams with people who can handle your dreams and also have dreams of their own. As the Jensen Franklin short said, he said, listen, don't get around people that are dream snatchers. Get around those people that are dream elevators, people that are going to build you up, that it will share your dream with you and hold you accountable to your dreams. In other words, get around other dreamers. But Neville says this: concentrate your attention entirely. I'm not saying this is easy, creators. I'm saying it's necessary. He says, concentrate your attention or your focus entirely upon the thing desired. And like I said, that's when you may want to incorporate a picture board, pictures on your phone, something that will allow you to more easily visualize the life that you desire. Like I said, I don't know how much of this you've seen because, like I said, what I was seeing on my end, it didn't look like it was picking up on the YouTube side. But even if it doesn't, what I'm going to do, I did record this to my computer by way of the Zoom. What I'll do is do a quick edit of the recording, and by tomorrow, this will be out there on YouTube. I'm going to try to do these, and I'll perfect it. I'm not worried about today. I'll get it down, and I like to do one of these a couple of times each Sunday, so maybe a few Sundays a month, going live with you and just giving you some tools from Neville or some other teacher that's going to benefit you to allow you to take your life to the next level. And if those who are interested and you're struggling and you're looking at a coach, said anybody that's listened to me, I'm no BS. I'm going to be real with you. But my desire is to help you see for yourself the greatness that God has for you and to help you facilitate that. If that's something that you want to do and you want to take your life to that next level, but you don't know how, I have a plethora of videos out there. So you can watch all the free videos, or you can connect with me by going to Coach DeCarlo1 at gmail.com. And I love to speak with you. Listen, guys, remember this. Only you can create your perfect world, not God or man. Only you can create your perfect world. This is Coach DeCarlo saying have a great and abundant day.